everybody, and welcome back to another episode here on the Sitrep podcast. I'm your host, Oriskany Jim, and we're back again to the wild blue yonder over the skies of North Korea in MiG Alley. Today I am joined by my filthy capitalist dog friend, just kidding, Mr. Rasmus. How you doing?
Not so bad.
And as I probably just indicated with my nasty intro, I am probably playing the North Koreans today. Yeah, North Koreans, totally not Soviet pilots flying in North Korean jets, because that totally didn't happen. But in all seriousness, we have taken a look at the Korean War through the eyes of AirWar C21 in MiG Alley and so on. Briefly in the past, we did kind of a, no pun intended, we did kind of a flyby on it. We didn't really look at the subject in detail, so today we're coming back and we're drilling a little bit more into the weeds about different versions of the different aircraft, different mission types besides just straight out fighter sweeps and dogfights, and different levels of pilot quality, because pilot quality was definitely a thing in this conflict for sure. So like I said, we've kind of been over the Korean War, especially the air war part of it, so I will not go into a long thing. But long story short, there was a great deal of jet fighter combat, specifically in this little spot over North Korea, and this is what they call MiG Alley. So I pulled some more updated maps for today's game. This is the spot for today's game there. These are the two basic fighter types like we've seen before. The one difference is that in our previous game we had the very, very basic F-86A. They had, I think, a grand total of 4 squadrons of these at first. They could rush into combat at the last second because the MiG-15 showed up, and that was a hell of a surprise. So the Korean War starts in the summer of 1950. The North Korean Air Force at the time is a joke. The F-80s, I think there was something called the F-84, the Navy's P-90s, absolutely just wiped out everything that was in the sky. And things were going well for the Allies until, again, the MiG-15 showed up. When the MiG-15 showed up, everything was outclassed. When the MiG-15 first showed up, it was a war winner. It was absolutely kicking the crap out of anything the American Navy, Air Force, Army, anything the South Koreans, anything the UN could throw up against it. And that's why they rushed in this early version F-86. And the early version F-86 could barely break even. It could hold its own against the MiG-15. The only thing that really kept the F-86 in the air is the fact that, American pilots were just better. So again, in these games, pilot quality is definitely a thing. One time that advantage kind of dissipated is when American pilots would come up against North Korean pilots that were suspiciously good. Russian pilots were being trained to speak in Korean, but in the heat of combat, when bullets were flying and engines catch fire and, shit hits the fan, they would sometimes lapse back into Russian. So in this conflict, some of the enemy fighter planes were being flown by pilots that were clearly better than your average North Korean Air Force pilot at the time. They were clearly Russian. So that leads us to today's game, and here's the map for today's game. And one of the things that we did want to bring in was different pilot quality. And so here, we're looking at 4 F-86 Sabers. I should also say these are the F-86F variant Saber that came out later in the Korean War. Improved forward leading edges on the wings and what they called the flying tail. They put a different kind of tail on the back that improved maneuverability and an improved engine. So now the F-86 could turn, climb, and keep up with, in a straight-out tail chase, could keep up with the MiG-15. So all of a sudden, F-86, the F version, F-86Fs were as good as the MiG-15. The pilots were still better. The air war over North Korea definitely turned in the Allies' favor. This is where the Air Force racks up eventually an 8-to-1 kill ratio. And a lot of times, these Sabers were tasked with escorting World War II era B-29 Super Fortress bombers that were trying to hit troop concentrations, rail yards, road centers, bridges, things like that in that northern part of North Korea, which is where all that Chinese reinforcement was coming in, making things difficult for the United Nations. We're looking at 6 MiG-15s in 3 pairs. We do have 1 Soviet pilot. He is good. The rest of them are North Koreans who are average, and we have, again, 2 B-29s. They're hopeless in a dogfight, obviously, because they're B-29s. They do have some machine guns for self-defense, but again, the B-29 was not built to defend itself. The B-29 was built in World War II to fly over the ceiling of Japanese fighters over Japan. That's why they do not bristle with machine guns the way B-24s or B-17s or even Lancasters did. They absolutely did not. They were the first plane with a pressurized cabin, to my knowledge, and their altitude was their main defense in World War II. The problem is, Korea, the MiG-15, yeah, I don't care about your high ceiling. I can fly higher than you. I'm a jet. And yeah, you're done. So these B-29s were now turkeys, ready to be just chewed up by MiG-15s. As we see here in our title slide, they went down in pretty significant numbers, if not properly escorted by F-86s. So again, we've got 2 B-29s, we've got 4 F-86 Sabers in 2 pairs. The F-86s are all flown by good pilots, and the F-86 leader is an ace. So we'll go into how that works as the game progresses. Those B-29s are starting off here at the bottom of the table. They're trying to get anywhere off the northern edge of the table. It should take them about 6 turns to do so, given their top speed and the size of the table. And other than that, yeah, it's just going to be a dogfight. So, what do you
rich environment.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think, Rasmus? Any comments or questions?
Target-rich environment with the 6 bogies, but
yeah, 6 bogies that, spoiler alert, might not be going for your fighters first. So, with all that, we'll go ahead and get this game going and check back in with everybody, probably sometime during turn 1. Okay, folks, here we are at the beginning of turn 2. Again, we're playing with 1950s Korean War vintage aircraft on a map template that may have been drawn for MiG-29s versus F-15s. Aircraft that move quite a bit faster than this, so the map might be a little bit too big for some of the planes on the map. In other words, it took us a while to even get close to coming at each other. So we've rolled our initiative. This is our new locations to begin the turn with. The guys that always automatically lose initiative are, of course, our 2 bombers, because they're gigantic 4-engine propeller bombers in a dogfight of jets. So they have a movement of 8. I'm assuming they're just moving straight forward at 8.
Straight forward at 8, yep.
What we're looking at here is that blue dot that's in the center of each aircraft marks its true location. So they have a top speed of 8, and they are chugging for their bombing run as best they can. So that's their movement, and now we're going to go in order of our initiative, starting now. With the good pilots, that's my North Korean honcho. And this, of course, all the F-86s, they're all good pilots. They get a +1 to all their rolls. And the Saber Ace gets a +2 to his roll because he's an ace. So after all the modifiers, it looks like I have a 2. MiG-15, number 3, has the first roll. Alrighty, so number 3 here, huh? Okay. He has a top speed of 11. He has declared no special maneuvers or speed changes. So he is going to move at his first 5.5. In AirWar C21, you always do half your movement. Make any turns within your turning limits that you're allowed. And he moves his other 5.5. So looks like he's heading off to head off those bombers. All right. Then we have, looks like a couple of 3s. Rather than bog down the video with a whole bunch of tiebreakers, I'll just go ahead and move my guys. That is MiG-15 number 2 and number 4. So again, rinse, repeat. Get the turning wheel lined up properly first of all.
I can't remember, do they need to go straight first, or can they turn right away?
No, they have to move half their movement and then they turn.
I thought so.
Yeah. So there's 5.5. Turn out to H, so we can actually turn slightly northeastern. And there's another 5.5. That's number 2, and then finally number 4. So here goes 5.5 in a straight line. MiG-15s have high maneuverability, so they can turn out to the H if they choose on the turning wheel. And he moves the other 5.5. Now here is where you can make your second turn if you want to set up your movement for next turn. But those 3 MiGs are pretty happy with where they're moving. Again, it looks like they're going to try to head off those bombers. They may already be too late, to be perfectly honest. Kind of doing the geometry in my head, but that's okay. All right, so now we go to your 2 3s, Mr. Rasmus. That is going to be numbers 3 and 4. Those are your escort guys.
Yeah. So 6 forward, and then...
their speed right now is a 5. Sorry, it's a 10, so they can only move 5 in their
So five forward, yeah.
Alright, so there's the one. Again, for people in our video audience, these are the F-86Fs with the flying tail and the improved leading edge on the wings and the improved engine. So their maneuverability has been upgraded to an H for high, so they can turn to the H the same way the MiGs can.
So he'll turn to H.
Alright, and he moves his other 5. And then any more turns, or is he happy with... he can again turn out to H if he wants.
Put him one back towards north, so...
Okay, so...
A slight correction to north, yep.
Something like that?
Something like that.
Okay, and then what's number 4 doing?
More or less a carbon copy.
Alright, out to 5.
Try to keep the wingman system going.
Out to 5, and then again that slight course correction to the north. Alright, cool. So we'll go ahead and finish up our movement, folks, and then I don't know if we'll get close enough to have any actual gunnery this turn, but we'll see what happens and we'll get back with you. Alright guys, here we are now during the fire phase of turn 2. And sure enough, we are now going to get to some gunnery. Here is where everybody was last turn. Here is where everybody is this turn. As you can see, most of my MiGs who lost initiative turned to the east. I'm trying to head off these bombers. To be perfectly honest, I should have turned toward those bombers sooner. Those bombers may get away from me. I may have waited a little bit too late to try and head off those bombers. And now my flight is all split up, and as we see, I've overshot the F-86s that were turning into me, because that's what happens when fast jets turn toward you and you have lost initiative, is you tend to overshoot them. He overshot me to a certain extent. I think he was maybe going for MiGs 5 and 6. However, we were both going too fast. I was moving at 11, he was moving at 12, so we're just about Mach 1, a little bit short. In this game, 12 to 13, depending on your altitude, is about Mach 1. We kind of overshot each other there. His F-86 Sabers 1 and 2, and my MiGs 5 and 6. However, he has lined up a nearly perfect shot on not only MiG number 1, my honcho, but even worse, MiG number 2. The reason MiG number 2 is in even worse shape is, as I really zoom in here, to show you guys the real detail of what's going on here. F-86 Saber number 2, the turning wheel and the arc wheel is exactly on his little blue dot that shows his exact location. And as you can see, the gunnery arc here, which goes out to the L's, you can't really see it under all the aircraft, but it says gun arc there. That blue dot is right on the line. So obviously Saber number 1, the ace, totally has Big 15 number 2 like almost dead to rights. F-86 number 2 overshot a little, but is just barely able to squeeze him into his arc. So Rasmus's real choice there was do I want to split my fire between MiGs number 1 and number 3? I think, Rasmus, you went ahead and decided to put everything you have into MiG number 2.
Put everything into MiG number 2, yeah.
They're both within 3 and 6 inches here. This is obviously MiG 2 being the target, F-86 Saber Ace number 1, and F-86 Good number 2 being the shooters. Both of those lines are between 3 and 6 inches, so they're 2 medium range shots. So that makes his target number a 5. However, we're going to apply some modifiers there. He gets to add dice because of his skill. We've already talked about good pilots and ace pilots. That's either a +1 or a +2 dice, not a target number. Whether or not he uses short burst, which is 1 point worth of ammo, -2d6, he's not doing that. Normal burst, it's just normal burst, uses up 2 points of ammo. Or if he holds the hammer down and just floods the sky with 50 caliber tracer, which I think is what you decided to do, Rasmus, is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So both guys are going to hold the hammer down. They're going to use up a lot of ammo. They're going to use up 3 points of ammo apiece. But the nice thing about carrying 50 caliber ammunition is you carry a lot of ammo. 50 caliber bullets are very, very small. I know that sounds weird, but compared to 23 millimeter cannon rounds, yeah, in the airframe they carry a lot more bullets. I.e., he can spend the ammo. He's going to spend the ammo. Okay, Daka. Which one are we going to shoot first? The ace?
We're going to go with the ace first.
Okay, so the ace is holding down. Let me count it here in the dice for everyone in our video audience. The F-86 starts off with 3d6. He gets to add 2 because he's an ace. That gets him up to 5. And he's holding down the hammer, so that gives him another 2. Total of 7 d6s. Your chances to hit are a 5+.
5+.
Yep.
1 hit.
Okay, so that's going to be 1 hit on MiG number 2. No worries, let's see what happened there. Well, it's definitely 1 hit of damage. Okay, so 1 actual hit of damage. Do me a favor, roll a d10 on the damage chart here.
A2.
A2, that is no additional damage. Alright, so it's 1 point of damage on MiG number 2. No worries so far. I'll track that as we go. Meanwhile, F-86 number 2 is going to have all the same modifiers, except he only adds 1 for pilot skill instead of 2.
So 6 dice.
Yeah, 6 dice instead of 7.
And he'll hit once as well.
That's a grand total of 2 points of damage. But for his source of damage, do me a favor, give me another d10 on the additional damage table roll.
Another 2.
Another 2, okay, so no damage again. Alright, so MiG number 2 has taken 2 points of damage, which means he is not yet at half. Damage points for a MiG-15 is 5. He's only taken 2 so far, so he's not yet at half. There's no real game effect yet. So I actually kind of got away with that one. I thought he was going to get blown out of the sky, to be perfectly honest. I actually just got lucky as shit, to be honest. That MiG number 2 should be going down right now, or blowing up.
Well, it is only 50 cals.
Yeah, but it's a lot of 50 cals. A lot.
Yep.
So we'll track damage and ammo, and there's not going to be any other shooting because these guys are not in arc or range of my other MiGs. My MiGs are definitely not within range of the B-29s, and these guys have no arc. So that's probably going to wrap up turn number 2. I'm going to track ammo and damage, and yeah, we'll be back to check in and see how the game is progressing. Okay, everybody, here we are at the bottom of turn 2, where we had a nice organized dogfight. I say organized dogfight, that's almost a contradiction in terms. But we sort of knew what was going on. We had MiG-15s and F-86 Sabers sort of overshooting each other, but his F-86s were able to cut in behind some of my lead F-15s, which had turned toward the bombers. It wasn't ideal, especially for me. Took some bullets. All that said, hey, at least we knew what was going on. Contrast that with what's going on now, which, you know, not so much. So my lead pair attempted Immelmans. They both succeeded. Unfortunately, my damaged MiG-2, I forgot how much an Immelman would actually slow down your airspeed, because it's basically a stand your plane up on its tail, do a rollover on your back, and you know that you all know how Immelmans work in real life. However, that drops your speed, even on a successful Immelman. And I didn't want to take too much overspeed damage because that plane is almost crippled, so I slowed him down manually earlier in the turn sequence. In summary, I slowed him down twice, which was just a goof on my part. So even after I applied corrective speed changes later on in the turn sequence, I still wound up below stall speed. MiG number 2 is in a stall. He's pointing in the right direction. However, he has no arc on anybody because Rasmus was careful with his maneuvering on Sabers 1 and 2, stayed too far to the right of my gunnery arc, so even if I wasn't in the stall, I wouldn't be able to shoot at anybody anyway. However, the other guy, my honcho, when he performed his Immelman, he actually extended out his roll a little bit before he kicked up on his tail. So he wound up further to the northeast before he went up and then rolled over on his back. And, you know, again, you guys know how Immelmans work. So against the onrush of Sabers 1 and 2, because he stepped back a little bit, like maybe a mile and a half further, he's now in pretty good position. So even when Rasmus maneuvered his Sabers 1 and 2 towards me, had enough standoff distance to where he's still in front of me. So he won initiative against MiG-1. Nevertheless, I was a little bit more careful about where I placed MiG-1, and I still have a shot at him. The bad news is that Saber number 2, which is that lead one there, and certainly Saber number 1, which is the trailing one there, that's the ace, are perfectly lined up on my MiG honcho, my Soviet, totally not North Korean pilot right there. Somewhat good news for me is that MiG-15 number 5 was able to S-turn without an Immelman, just a regular maneuvering, to get literally right on the 6 of Saber number 2. Now, I'm not able to slow down because that's not how the turn sequence works. You have to declare that before the maneuver and other people start to do their turns. That's the whole point of the maneuver system. It does put me right smack dab. I'm like literally shaking my sexy little ass right in the nose of Saber number 1. So Saber number 1, I don't know what Rasmus's original plan was. It looked like he was trying to gang up on my honcho here. However, MiG-15 number 5 literally just parked his butt right on his nose. So Saber number 1 might switch targets. That's going to be up to Rasmus.
Yep. He might.
Yeah, I mean, I know focused firepower is a thing, but you don't get a shot better than that. It's going to cost me a MiG, but if I can knock down an F-86 in exchange for a MiG, I'll take that trade every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And one last wild card that Rasmus was bringing up here was, F-86 Saber number 3. What were you saying about that, Rasmus?
He have a long shot at the honcho.
He is technically in range. That's going to be a hell of a shot. But you are in his rear arc. The arc is described, I think, as 30 degrees. So we'll get the turning wheel out just to make sure that you definitely have a shot. I'm just going to have to work out the exact modifiers on that. But first, let's go ahead and get to shooting. So it's up to you, man. Who do you... It's all simultaneous at this point. Who do you want to shoot first?
Let's do the long shot first.
Okay. So then I will quickly check the arc of... I'll reverse that. Yeah, you're within a 60-degree back arc. Yeah, so there's no modifiers. You're considered on his, quote, 6. It's really more like his 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, but it's a 60-degree arc when you line up the plane. So pretty much backward turn wheel to the 2 M's, which definitely includes you. Okay, so it is at extreme range, more than 6 inches, but with less than 9, barely. F-86F did have a radar-controlled aiming device to help adjust for the arc of their 50 calibers, plus they had tracer rounds. Nevertheless, you're going to be shooting at 6s. So you start off with 3 dice. That's a good pile. It goes up to 4 dice. How much ammo do you want to burn?
We'll burn a full burst.
Alright, so it's a grand total of 6 dice. No modifiers for arc, and you're looking for 6s.
1 6.
Okay, that is 1 6. Give me a 1d10 on the damage table.
2, because on the damage table, apparently I can't roll anything but 2s.
That's the third 2 in a row you've rolled on the damage table.
Exactly.
Right, so that is MiG-15. That's my honcho. MiG-15. So honcho is basically a Japanese slang word. I mean, we all know what honcho means nowadays. But it kind of came into use, as far as I know, during the Korean War. It's a Japanese slang word for basically big boss, and it was used by the Air Force when they ran up against MiG-15s and MiG Alley that were clearly not flown by North Korean pilots, up to and including hearing them speaking to each other in Russian in intercepted radio traffic. So my honcho now has one ping of damage on him, alright, and that was Saber number 3, has used up 3 points of ammo. So we'll keep track of that as we go. Alright, cool. That's taken care of. Who do you want to shoot next? Saber number 2 or number 1?
Let's do number 2.
Okay, Saber number 2 has no choice, really. He is shooting headlong, point blank into the honcho. So the point blank is the good news. You're clearly less than 3 inches. In fact, you may be less than 1. You are literally like at 1 inch. So, yeah. The good news there is that you're aiming at a 3+. The bad news is you are firing from target front, which means your dice just get whacked in half. So you start off with 3, you go up to 4 because you're a good pilot. You're using a full burst, I'm assuming.
Oh yes.
So that becomes 6. Knock it down to a 3. 3 dice against the 3.
2 hits.
Okay. Give me a D10 on the damage table, please.
A 6! I actually rolled something else.
You destroyed his gun. Gun system is KO'd. Gun may no longer be fired. Of course, that's after this turn. But the honcho has no guns, and he has just taken 2 more points of damage, which means he's now crippled. And he's going too fast, which means he's going to take more damage. Bad news all around for my man, Mr. Honcho. No gun. Oh, no. Okay.
It's basically fun when you have no missiles.
Yeah, there are no missiles in this game because we're in 1952, so when you lose your guns, it's like ramming speed or fly away or eject. Those are your only choices at that point. Alright, that leaves us now with Saber number 1. What is your ace doing?
He's firing into the rear arc of MiG-5.
Oh no, I was afraid of this. Okay, so yeah, I'll zoom in so everyone knows exactly what's going on here. because these planes are so close together. Again, the planes are to scale with each other, not with the map. We're looking at F-86 Saber number 1 firing at MiG 15 number 5. They were so close together you can barely see what's going on. It's basically like less than an inch away from each other. And he's on my 6. So that half dice modifier, yeah, that doesn't apply. So you start off with 3 dice because you're an F-86. You're an ace, you go up to 5. You're dropping a full load. That is dropping a full load. Goes up to 7. No penalties.
Looking for
7 dice on a 3. MiG 15, it was nice knowing you.
Well, only 4 hits.
Only 4 hits. Roll 1d10 on the damage table.
A6.
You also knocked out his gun. Alright, so he is down 4 hits. He's also crippled. Once a plane, everybody in the video audience, goes above half damage points, I got the damage points here for the aircraft. That's basically the hit points of the plane. Once you go above half, you're considered crippled. And once you do that, your maximum safe speed reduces immediately by half. So my maximum safe speed on a MiG 15, which was 11, now drops to a 6. I'm moving at 11. That means I'm 5 over my new safe speed. I take 5 more points of damage from velocity for Vmax exceeded. So yeah, that plane is pretty much going to break up right there in midair. And Mr. Ace is going to go home with number 6 kill because he's an ace.
Yeah, and yeah, Saber number 4 also got a shot.
There's a little sideshow going on over here. Okay, so you're clearly within 3. Well, I mean, before I say clearly, you do have a ruler for a reason. I'm positive you're within 3 inches, but okay, I just wanted to check. You're like at 2.1 inches or something. Okay, so that's definitely going to be a close range shot. However, you are firing from my beam, so negative 2d6. So you start off with 3, go up to 4, dropping a full ammunition load. It goes up to 6.
Go down to 4.
Goes down to 4, right.
3 hits.
Alright, cool. So 3 hits on, what is that, MiG number 4 has taken 3 hits. D10 on the damage table.
A10.
A10, control system damage. Reduce maneuverability by 1 level. He is now a medium maneuverability plane. Shut off some of his flaps. That is maneuverability. Oh no! My planes are being shot to bits. None of this is right.
But now it's your turn to shoot something to bits.
Yeah, hopefully this is where I actually take somebody out. Alright, time to warm up those 23mm and 37mm cannons here. I may not get a hold of any bombers, but damn it, I'm taking at least 1 Saber with me. Okay, so first we'll do Mr. Doomed at MiG 15 number 5, who has a total of 4 dice to start with. He is not a good pilot. However, he is
Riding my rear.
Running rear, so no penalties there, nothing. I am going to drop a full ammunition load on him. Looking at 6d6. Alright, so we're looking at 6d6. Looking for 3 ups. Come on, I need good rolls. Here, do it! Holy crap, are you goddamn kidding me? The one good shot I have, I only get 2 successes. Alright, on the damage table, 10, maneuverability knockdown. Alright, so that is maneuverability knockdown and 2 dice of damage. We'll come back to that. Meanwhile, Honcho is going to go ahead and fire his 1, 2, 3, 4. He is a good pilot. He gets 1 dice. However, he's also going to drop a full ammunition load. That's 2 more dice. However, I am shooting head-to-head with him, so I lose half my dice. So I lose 3 out of my 7. Here are 4d6s. I'm looking for 3 ups. Okay, that's 2 more levels of damage. And that is 3. That's no additional damage on the damage chart. That's going to be a grand total of 4 levels of damage. That is a crippled F-86 Saber, who is still moving a little bit too fast. I did shoot down 1 F-86 Saber.
Yep.
You really have to keep track of ammo on these MiGs, because they run out of ammo really fast. Okay, so I have now added the damage to Saber number 2. We'll get to the velocity exceeding part in just a second. That's where we're going to lose at least 3 planes so far. Possibly 4. Holy crap. Yeah, we definitely thinned down the game on this turn, that's for sure.